Welcome back to Starter Pack. All right, are you ready to supercharge your command line skills and become a bash scripting ninja? Well, let's dive in today because we're going to go right into top 10 bash commands that'll help you get started. And there's no better place to learn this than diving into a simple OpenWRT router. This is where I cut my teeth learning Linux, was when I really wanted to start to learn Linux command line. And so if you want to start diving into some 10 simple bash commands to get yourself started, this is a great place to start. And I'm going to introduce you to one of the best OpenWRT routers that you can get started with. So let's dive into this today. All right, welcome back to Starter Pack. I'm Spencer Thompson. Here at Starter Pack, we love to train software developers in our licensed coding boot camps and build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so after a quarter century in software trenches, I've picked up a trick or two, and especially with Bash on my tool belt, right? So today I'm going to share some of these really easy ways to dive in and get started. Now, one of the very first things you got to do is you got to have somewhere that you can run these Bash commands. One of the simplest ways to do this is to grab an OpenWRT router, but these commands will actually work anywhere. Now, if you're wondering where a good place to start is with an OpenWRT router, I can definitely show you one of the best places that I know of to get started here is a project called FreeMesh, right? So freemeshwireless.com is a great place. Go check it out, freemeshwireless.com. This gives you new Wi-Fi 6 routers. So you get a router and two nodes that you can cover your whole home very simply. Instead of one little dumb router that doesn't reach your whole home, you can get three of these with the router plus two nodes that will actually cover your whole home. Now, the best part about all of this is that it's going to allow you to dive in and start to learn open source very quickly and very simply. This is a very powerful router, comes with a dual core 1.3 gigahertz processor with 256 megs of RAM. And I know that's not a lot by most computer standards, but for a router, and especially for these embedded Linux, this is huge, right? Now, the best part is this is totally open source, so you're totally in control. So let's dive in today and start to learn, without further ado, some examples that I have here for you on how to learn some of your top 10 favorite bash commands, right? So one of the very, very first ones is a very, very simple one here. So I'm going to go into my folder where I've got some sample files here, and we're going to start off with a very simple one that will allow you to learn how to echo a file, right? Okay, so one of the first things we're going to do is do echo, right? So you can actually just start off by saying echo hello world. Whoops, if I can type hello world, right? So if I say echo hello world, it's going to echo it right back to me, right? So this is kind of like a System.out.println, but for bash, right? So you can output that, but you can also echo other things, and you can echo things into a file. So let's say I say echo hello world, and now I'm going to say out to a file, right? So we'll call it hello world. Man, I can't type today. World.txt. Okay. Now, that didn't echo it out to the screen, right? Because the printf just echoed it to there. But this actually allows me to echo it out, and I can actually echo it out to a file. Now we're going to learn our next one of cat, right? Which is another really handy one. So we're going to learn cat of hello world, and that's going to echo out this file called cat. So if I type ls, this is going to be to list the directory, right? So it's kind of like dir in Windows. So we just see that I did this hello world, and this was just created, right? So we can see that this was just created, and so now we've seen echo can echo out to a file, or it can just echo out to the screen, right? So very first thing is learning echo. So if you see echo of something, it's just kind of the whole point is echo repeats back to you, right? All right, now let's dive into the next one here. So the next one is cat. Cat is a super helpful one because it does help you to cat out files from the screen here, right? We're also going to learn ls because that lists the directory, right? So if I do ls, there's one of the first things you're going to learn with any Linux command is I can do this and do -- help, and it's going to list out all the different type of commands that you can add onto ls. So like in this case, I want to see a list of all the files, and I just know some of these. In the -L and A, it says, hey, I'm going to use the long format, so I get all the details. I'm going to say A, including all the files, and then T is going to actually sort them by time, right? So if I do that, it's actually going to see that hello world was the last one. But this also is going to show like the size of the files. Now, if you're like me and I don't really like to be lazy, I'm going to add an H onto here, and H makes this, if we look up here at our help here, I always think of it as human readable. I can't remember what the exact thing is. Oh yeah, human readable. That is what it's called. So if I do that, now it's going to actually make it so I don't have to figure out what 713 is, right? It's like 600K, right? Or 12 meg files. So you can see there's some big files out here, right? I've got some that are really large files that we're going to use for some of our other examples here. So we've now learned echo, which echoes things out. We've learned ls, which can list all the files that are in the directory. Or we can use cat, which is going to actually echo back. It's going to show back this file. So let's actually cat out this one here, which is a CSV that I have ready for us here, and get ready because this is going to go fast. Boom. There's a bit of information here, right? This is I'm using as like a database file, which we'll use for some various things. Now we've now learned echo, we've learned ls for listing the directory, and we've learned cat. Okay. Cat is going to just basically barf out the file at us, right? Now, one of the cool things with Linux is you can also actually start to chain commands. And we'll show you some of the chaining commands here in a minute. But if you've ever had to try to search inside a file and you want to do like a control F, well, I'm going to teach you what control F, but on steroid is. Welcome to your friend grep. So grep, if we look at him, we can see grep, and again, dash, help, right? You can see these are all the options that we can use with grep, right? So we can use a lot of different stuff with grep. Grep is super powerful. Grep can allow you to do a ton of different stuff here. So if I say, so let's go back here and we're going to list out all of our files, right? So let's use this smaller one because we don't need to, I mean, I guess we could, but let's do, so that's going, let's go use this small one again here, right? So what we're going to use here is we're going to actually do a grep, and let's start with just doing a cat on this file so we can find some helpful information. So if I do cat of that, so let's say we want to find everything that has Benjamin in it, right? So we're going to say grep, right? We're going to say the grep all right, so grep is pretty simple, right? We just say grep, and then I'm going to say, hey, I want to find anything that has the word Ben, not even just Benjamin. I just want to find Ben. Any of this that has Ben in it from our file here. What was the name of our file? It was output. And so one of the things here is the really super handy with Linux, you can actually just tab and it will continue to find these, right? So we tab this and we can say output Ben, let's just do the 10K one, 10K CSV. Okay. Now what this did is any line that had the word Ben in it, you can see and I can scroll up and down here. We can see that anything that would have had Ben in it is going to show in here. Now, if I were to say like, hey, I want it, so I can do up arrow and it's just going to come back to the last command. I say, hey, I want to find everything that has E in it, right? It's going to find almost every single thing in the line. Now, if I want to say, hey, I want to find all the back. So this one I'm going to put into quotes because I'm going to say back end developers. So I want to find all the back-end developers that are in this list. Boom. See, it found me all the back-end developers. You can see where grep becomes really powerful, and grep actually can become even more powerful. There's a ton of stuff you can do because you can actually even get into finding, combining this with ls. So let's say that we want to say ls, right? And this is going to list out all of our files. Let's say I want to find ls and I want to grep those that have 100K on them. I did something wrong on my command here. So you can actually chain these together though and find any that are going to, it's because there's nothing that has 100K. So let's say I want to find the ones that have just 100 in it. Hey, look, it found the one that had 100 in it, right? Grep can actually be used and you can chain these. It's called chaining with multiple different commands with this bar command. So super powerful to actually be able to look for a file in a directory. So let's say you have a directory that has 1 million files in it. You want to find one that has one name on it. This will allow you to do that. Super, super powerful and handy to be able to do this. Grep is a really good friend. So we've now learned grep. We've learned ls, we've learned cat, we've learned echo. We're 4 in right here. So already you're becoming a little bit of a Linux pro. Now, let's use one and let's do one of my favorite commands. Let's use find. So One of my favorite ones is where I do find, and I'm going to find dot, and then I'm going to say that means this current directory. So you could specify another directory if you want to look into another directory, but let's say that, and then we're going to use our friend grep, and then I just memorize this HNI, and I know what each of these means, but the I means case insensitive, and I want to find everything that has the word Ben in it. So every file that's going to have Ben in it. And I missed something wrong here. Give me 1 second. And I remembered what it was that I did wrong here. So you say grep, and then you're going to actually use another command called xargs. And so this is actually one of my favorite ones. So I'm actually already jumping ahead because now we're using grep or find, we're using grep, and we're using xargs, right? So if I say xargs grep with this, it's actually going to find every one of the files and spit out every file that has the word Ben in it and find it, and you notice that it's actually searching through multiple files. So this comes in really handy if you've got a directory that's got like millions of files and you're like, I know there's one of them that has, this particular phone number in it, let's say, right? So where can I find that particular phone number? So let's copy that. So let's use this command again. It's going to actually search through all these files. It's going to find not only the file, but it'll find the line that anytime this phone number were to appear. That's pretty impressive, and it's really quick. So this is running on a router right now. So this is not running on like some really powerful, beefy computer. This is running just on a router. So pretty impressive that it can do this and search across all of these files. Now, one of these files is ginormously huge, like really like a 68 gig or 68 meg file, which is really large for a router to be. And more importantly, the ROM on these is actually pretty slow. So we've now learned find, we've learned grep, we've learned echo. We've learned a handful of these, right? So one of the things is right now we're actually using SSH to get into this system. And so you haven't really learned a ton about what SSH is. But this here is actually how we got into it. So the terminal that we're using is actually SH. Now, SH stands for secure shell. And so when you're using SH, you're actually remoting into via command line into another machine. So I'm actually on my streaming machine here, but I'm actually remoted via SSH into my router. Now, as part of that, you can also use something called SCP, which is actually where you can do a secure copy. So SCP, and I'm going to show you this because I don't have a ready example here, but SCP would allow me to say, let's say I wanted to take this file here, and let me see if I can think of a good example of a server that I could get this onto here in the house or something. I guess I don't have my Raspberry Pi set up right now. So, but what I could do is let's pretend that I had my Raspberry Pi set up, okay? And let's say that I wanted to copy, so secure copy my hello world file, okay? And I'm going to transfer it to, and let's say that I wanted to transfer it to, let's pretend it was 192.168.8.1. So instead, pretend this is like a server address instead of just another server. And then I would actually tell it where I wanted that to land. So I could do home Pandora, this is its home directory, and say, maybe let's say we wanted to put it onto the desktop, right? So I could actually do this, and it would actually do a secure copy and execute this command. Now, it's not going to actually know what to do with this, so it's going to fail. But that's how you would do it, and actually take that file and do a secure copy using SSH across the network to get to that. Now, have you ever wanted to see what's running on your computer right now? So here are a couple of quick ones. So if I do top, this actually shows me kind of like your Windows Task Manager, right? So if you have a Windows Task Manager, you notice that refreshed. So this one refreshed really slow, but I can actually hit the number 1 on this. And if I did have more than one CPU, it would actually show me the multiple CPUs. Now this system does, so I don't know if this must be, so you can hit Control C to get out of this. So I'm going to say top D1. What this does, D1 will actually say, hey, it's going to refresh at an interval of every 1 second, right? And so it looks like this one doesn't support the breakout of the CPUs. So on OpenWRT, it's not supporting that. But on a Ubuntu or another server distro, you can hit 1 and it will show that. Now you notice that this has a decent amount of RAM. This is actually running on the FreeMesh node router, excuse me. So this is an example of how powerful these systems are, because you can do a ton with these. So lots of stuff going on here. So you can see that gives you kind of a task manager sort of view. Now, if I do PS, this lists out all of the different services that are running on the router. So right now you can see that every one of these services, along with their PID, which is the main ID of what's running and which user is running this, right? So you can see each of these different processes that are being run in the background, and we can do these and we can actually kill off some of these if we needed to, right? So let's say I wanted to kill process 575. We can actually say kill -9 575. And now if I were to do a PS and a grep of 575, there's not going to be anything there, because the only thing actually running is it shows that grep was running. So this runs the PS and then filters out down to that. If I want to find out what the PS or what the PID is, or PID, I can also do PS and then do grep of, let's say, HTTPD, which is the web service that's running. And you can see here, this is the web service running, which is just going to return just a PID of that. So PS is kind of just a list of all current running processes. Top is actually going to be more like your task manager, so you can see what's actually using up CPU and everything. So you can see it's actually the top using CPU is pegged to the top, right? So if I were to get a command loop of something that's looping over really fast, you could see that happen there. One of the important ones too is man. Man actually allows you to see basically the built-in documentation on any process. So if I want to say man PS, looks like man isn't found on OpenWRT, and that would make sense because this is a small compact distro. Using Ubuntu or Red Hat or any of these other ones, you'd actually be able to run man, and it will give you the manual of that command that you're running against, right? So hopefully some of the things that I've helped have shown you. Again, definitely want to stress that if you're looking for a great place to start, fantastic system here is the FreeMesh system. One of the most amazing things about this is truly open source. You can get it, you can download it, you can build it yourself, you can tweak it. We're always looking for people to commit and to work with the project. And so you're welcome to dive in and commit. People build off of this stuff all the time. You want to add VPN, you want to add whatever you want. Anything OpenWRT supports out of the box, this is absolutely free, as in open source. Dive in. So we try to make the hardware cost really reasonable. Now, what are your thoughts? I love to hear from you guys. The best compliment I can give is when you guys leave a comment down below or ask questions. I'm happy to dive in. Here at Startup Pack, we do offer customized consulting. So if you do want help with a Linux system, or if you need help learning, we also do have a licensed coding boot camps that can help to teach you, or we can offer custom tutoring sessions. Reach out to us here at startuppack.com/Spencer, and we'd love to help. And here's an offer that we've got for you to give you a little bit more details.
Want to become a software developer but don't want to spend 4 years in college and rack up massive student loan debts? Think you need technical expertise to get started? Welcome to Startup Hack, a better way to start your software career without student loans and years without income. One-on-one tutoring is included, so you never get stuck and have guidance through the whole process. No technical experience is necessary. Learn at your own pace and in your own space. Startup Hack has worked with local state agencies in your area to make it so that qualifying students can get the program costs covered entirely, and students can start earning while they learn.
Startup Hack's .NET Coding Bootcamp was a game changer for my career. As someone with no prior programming experience, I was initially intimidated by the idea of learning to code, but the instructors at Startup Hack broke down complex concepts into easy to understand lessons and provided hands-on projects that really cemented my understanding. The curriculum was comprehensive and up to date and got me ready for my first job. What really set Startup Hack apart was the focus on practical, real-world skills. Thanks to Startup Hack, I landed my dream job as a .NET developer within weeks of graduating. I went from knowing nothing about code to building professional-grade web applications in just a few intense months. If you're looking to break into .NET development or level up your coding skills, I cannot recommend Starter Pack enough.
Complete our 3-month coding bootcamp, gain hands-on experience, and land a paid internship. With 2 years of experience, on average, our graduates are making over $80,000 per year. The 3-month program includes technologies from Microsoft, Google, and Facebook. No debt, just a quick path to earning. Check out starterpack.com to code your future and start today.